Alright guys, I gotta come clean. I think I might have an addiction. Not smoking, no. I just like to pickpocket things with batteries in them from my friends. Like you're busy admiring a particularly nice cloud and bam, I got your car keys. Do car keys have batteries in them? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now you might be asking, Luke, this is disgusting, why do you keep these? But I think I got a pretty cool idea of what to do with them. And to understand why, let's take a look inside. Now these things really only just consist of 3 components. The liquid tank with the heating coil, a battery, and an air pressure sensor that detects when you take a drag. But interestingly, even though this is marketed and sold as a one-way device, this right here is a lithium-ion battery, which is effectively the same thing as inside your smartphone or an electric car, and it is 100% rechargeable. In fact, you should never throw one of these in a normal trash can, because if the battery gets damaged, you now have a fire that not only gives you cancer, but is also pretty much impossible to extinguish. But you know, they're also pretty damn useful, so let's get them out of there. Now opening these is pretty easy. You just get some pliers, pull on the end caps on both sides and push out the insides. There you can see the liquid tank, the battery and the end cap with the pressure sensor, but quick disclaimer, do not do this at home. This is not a tutorial. Lithium batteries are dangerous, and if accidentally damaged or shorted, you got a toxic fire that you cannot put out with water. So if you don't have a fireproof container with sand in it, you are going to have a serious problem. Alright, back to the program. As you can see, there's also this newer version with the rounded end cap, where I'm going to use this little chiseling method. For these, the inside looks a bit different, but it is essentially the same 3 components, just with the sensor wide into the middle. And for completion's sake, I did also get a couple of these other models, which I'm not going to be using on this project, but as you can see, it's just all the same stuff, just arranged a bit differently. But let's move on to the fun part. Now, I've already seen a couple of videos of people refilling the tank and the battery to reuse it, and that is pretty cool. But how about instead we are going to add some LEDs, a charging port and a switch to turn the thing on and off. Then we'll just add an acrylic rod to the front and we've got ourselves a little lightsaber. Should be pretty cool. Now to actually build this, I started with soldering some resistors to the LEDs. These lights are automatically color changing, but since they only rated for up to 3.4 volts and the battery is able to provide up to 4, we are going to need some resistors so they don't burn out. Next up is adding the button to the LEDs and connecting a wire to the other side, which will later connect to the charging port. Looking back, I should have probably also added a resistor here, so just in case something went wrong with the charger, it would prevent the battery from shorting out, but hindsight is 20/20. Next up is connecting the battery. This is the part where I have to be quite careful not to damage or overheat it while soldering. But now when I push down the wires to close the circuit, you can already see the LEDs are lighting up and our circuit is complete. Now I'm just going to add this little aviation socket as a charging port and we have our finished prototype. Now I thought it would be pretty cool to reuse the metal cylinder as a housing for the electronics, so I marked out the location for the button with some permanent marker and started drilling out the holes. And these things are surprisingly tough. I know that it looks fast right here, but that actually took forever. Probably would have been a lot easier with the drill press. Alright, here we go. I got all the drilled out cylinders and I also made a couple more of my DIY flashlights. As you can see, I covered the solder joints with hot glue to insulate them. This is especially important because the cylinders themselves are conductive and I don't want the tube itself acting as a wire shorting out the battery. But now I just have to shove in the electronics and glue it in place. I removed the label from one of the cylinders because I wanted to go for a more classic lightsaber look on this one, but the sticker really didn't want to come off, so I had to use some sandpaper and clean off the rest. Now, the only thing left would be the saber part of the lightsaber, but before we get to that, quick side tangent about the charging ports. Now, in order to charge these batteries, you need these regulated chips, so the battery only goes up to the rated current and doesn't overload and explode. So I originally intended to build these directly into the lightsabers, but as you can see I had a bit of a space issue in the hilt, so unless I hammer the bottom flat, that was not going to happen. Now the workaround of course were these aviation sockets which fit perfectly inside the cylinder. Now the only downside is I need to solder up an adapter with the chip and the other half of the socket to charge it, so that is what I'm doing right here. I will probably later integrate this into a nice little charging station, but for now it's just gonna stay like this. Okay, so here's the progress so far. You might be wondering what is going on with the blue one to the left, and that was my original prototype. As you can see, that was when I started out with only one LED, and I was wondering how I could best achieve that lightsaber look. And as I said, I tried it out first with a piece of acrylic, which I sanded down to get a nice matte surface finish, and this worked out pretty well. The only issue was, when I tried to assemble it, the acrylic was slightly too small for the cylinder. I tried to 3D print an adapter, and although it transmitted the light pretty well, I just thought it looked a bit messy. You know, that could also be because I applied too much hot glue, but you know, we're not gonna point fingers here. Now, the easy solution for that would have been to just buy some bigger acrylic rods, but you know, I thought, wait, I think I still have some clear liquid for my resin printer. So I just printed out a couple of cylinders with the perfect diameter, and you know, arguably this took about twice as long as just going down to the hardware store. But what am I supposed to do? Go outside and touch grass when I could instead stay inside and inhale resin fumes? Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, this is water washable resin, so I just popped them in a bath for a while to clean off the excess resin, and here we go. I printed a couple of different lengths so you can swap them out with a press fit, and we're done. I think you waited long enough. Time for the big reveal. Alright, that concludes this episode of building dumb stuff out of trash. I hope you enjoyed it. I think I will probably return to this project at some point in the future. I still have a bunch of batteries left over, and I have some ideas of making a more elaborate version 2.0 where the button is replaced with kind of a lipstick design that turns on the light by twisting the cylinder, but you know, we'll see. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'll try to upload more regularly from now on, but this stuff always takes way longer than I thought at the beginning, so see you in 2 weeks probably. I don't know. No promises. Okay, bye-bye. Regularly. Regularly. Fucking English.